for those. Hello and welcome. I'm so happy to see everybody here. My name is Amy Blaine. I'm a sales strategist, coach, founder of Shatter Sales and Personal Development, where we help women confidently thrive in sales. And I first just want to say a huge thank you. I know that time is limited. You are all super busy ladies. And I promise you that I have packed this hour with lots of information that will hopefully be applicable to you to use right away. Now, we do have a lot of information, so we are going to go ahead and get started. But if I run over an hour, if I get caught up in my thought or storytelling, then and you have to leave, no problem. There is a recording. I'm going to send it out to everybody. Or if there's something that you want to go back to, we are going to be going through some technical aspects of sales and some sales processes and mindset and all that fun stuff. So if you want to go back and review it, then you will have the recording. Also, you do have access to be able to ask a question. So if we're going through this and you have a question, please put it in to the Q&A. If we have questions at the end, I will answer those questions. I can stay as late as we need to. I can also follow up with you afterwards too to answer any questions that you have. All right, so without further ado, let's get into the topic at hand, which is the modern selling mindset. And the question that we're going to be answering is, how is your current sales mindset holding you back? Now, if you're here, if you signed up, if this topic resonates with you, then I do have a suspicion that maybe you've been exposed to selling techniques that maybe don't feel great. Maybe you felt pressure to sell in a certain way. Maybe that strategy was created by a man. Maybe it wasn't, but it was a strategy that didn't really feel great for you. And you are looking for something, a different approach, a different perspective on what selling could be. And if that is the case, then you are absolutely in the right place. So how are we going to do this? So the first two topics that we're going to cover is that we're going to be kind of laying the groundwork. So we're going to look back at the evolution of sales. What have we learned from it? Where are we now? And then we're going to be comparing what those traditional selling models and mindsets and behaviors, what do those actually look like? And then what does it look like through a more modern lens? And we're calling this trailblazing, because this is, even though we are in the modern era, a lot of sales strategies have not caught up. And so I would consider this trailblazing. And then we're going to get into really like the heart of selling. So we're going to get into the modern sales symphony. We're going to go through the actual framework that we use, the 3 C's of modern selling. So this is like a lot of meaty content that we're going to be sharing. And then we're going to be looking at that process, and we're going to be introducing high vibe practices. And then we're ending with a bang with momentum through mindset. So we're going to be changing your mindset. The goal is that you leave here with a mindset that you believe that as a woman with your unique skills, that you are perfectly positioned to excel in sales. So before we get into the evolution of sales, I wanted to share a little bit about the evolution of me. Now, a lot of you on this call may already know me. Some of you be like, who the hell is this woman and why is she qualified to talk about sales? Well, this is just a snapshot of who I am. I've been in sales for 25 years. I fell into sales at age 19, 20 because I flunked out of nursing school. And my first job was a telemarketer. That job I got only because my best friend worked there. And she said, hey, I work at this place. They're hiring. You make good money. So I started working there. And I quickly saw that I succeeded. I was recognized. Now, obviously, I did not want to be a telemarketer for the rest of my life, but I did know that I wanted to be in the business world. And so I actually moved up to Wisconsin. I was living in Illinois at the time. My family lived in Wisconsin. And so I moved up here to be close to them. Went to UW Oshkosh, studied marketing. I worked in retail sales. Then after college, I did inside sales, outside sales. I was a finance manager and director at a high volume car dealership, a Toyota dealership, which is totally untraditional, but lots of great selling experience there. And then most recently was in insurance for the past 11 years, and had, in full transparency, had planned on retiring there. Like, insurance is a great industry to be in. There's a lot of financial security. in there. But I was the product of the pandemic, and even I turned 40 a couple years before that. And I really started evaluating what type of impact do I want to make on the world? What do I want my legacy to be? Up until that point, my sales had really been all about me, like earning money, making money, surviving. And then as I got older and matured, I really thought about the impact that I wanted to make and created Shatter, and really created it Shatter to focus on women, because quite honestly, I just didn't see enough women entering the sales industry and succeeding. So my goal is to create a new era of sales for women where we really do shatter sales goals, glass ceilings, limiting beliefs, all of those wonderful things. Now, I do want to share two key things that I learned from my 25 years. And one is about confidence. Now, this workshop is not about confidence, but I would be remiss to not bring it up, because you might be thinking that based on 25 years of sales experience that I am the most confident person in the world. And in certain areas, in certain rooms, I do feel very confident, but there's a lot of times that I'm not confident. And the key lesson that I've learned is that confidence is not a destination. Confidence is a journey. You aren't born with confidence. And I would say that, I know there's been so much publicity about the commencement speech, and they talked about the diabolical lie that was told to women. My diabolical lie that I think is told to women is that men are more successful in sales because they are naturally confident. And I just think that is a lie. Confidence, you are not born, men are not born with more confidence, women are not born with less confidence. Confidence is created through taking action. And there can be an argument made that men are more confident because they naturally are more action takers. That's in their like testosterone DNA. But women are also action takers, but our actions look different. And in a lot of sales circles, the actions that women take are not seen as acceptable. They're saying these are soft skills. They're not really, we're not as competitive. We're not fear driven. All of these things. And the goal of this webinar is for you to leave and be like, you know what? The actions that I take as a woman actually make me better at sales. And we're going to get into all of that. The second thing that I learned, which makes me so excited to talk about, is that when you have, and this is what I've learned in 25 years, when you have the ability to generate revenue, when you can generate revenue, whether that means you're a corporate employee working for a company or you're an entrepreneur earning money for your business, then the elusive glass ceiling that women talk about completely disappears, because you become an asset to everyone around you, your employer, your family, and most importantly, to yourself. Because if you are ever in a situation, whether it's a relationship or a job, and you feel like this doesn't align with who you are anymore, you can pivot knowing that you have all of the abilities to create financial stability for yourself. And that is my deeper why, is to help women gain more financial stability so that they feel free to make the changes to live the life that aligns with what they really want. So that's a little bit about me. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it sheds some light for you. So let's get into it. Okay, so let's start with the evolution of sales. So the question that we're going to be answering is, what can the history of sales teach us about today's buyer-seller dynamic? And we're starting with a quote from Elizabeth Andrews. It is from the fond memories of our past that we gather courage to face the future. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to look back on the evolution of sales. So lots of really interesting things here. First of all, we're going back like 200, almost 300 years. Benjamin Franklin founded America's first insurance company, and the term hunters came into play. I thought this was so riveting because I don't know about you, but whenever I see a job posting and it says looking for hunters, hunters only apply, it just makes me cringe. And I don't know why it makes me cringe, but I don't see myself as a hunter, but I also know that I can be very successful in sales. And so the reason why I feel like it probably doesn't resonate is because it originated almost 300 years ago. And it originated because back in that time with insurance policies is that people had to literally travel for probably months out into the field and like find people to buy these policies, which is why they were called hunters. Nowadays, that is not the case. We have social media, we have email, we have everything at our fingertips. So if the term hunter resonates with you, that's great. Keep going with it. But if it doesn't, I just want to open up your mind to saying this could be an outdated stereotype that we don't have to hold on to anymore. So next time point is 1879, where Woolworth retail chain in the U.S. opens. Everybody has heard of Woolworths, and this is where the terminology "people will buy anything at 50%." I thought this was more just comical. This story, Jack Woolworth actually hated selling, and so when people would try to negotiate with him, he would get really insecure and he would just give everything away, and that's why that term was coined. And then in 1849, immigrants introduced snake oil into the US. Its aggressive selling style led Americans to view salespeople as unethical and uneducated. Now, this is something that originated over 100 years ago, 150 years ago. And I know today that I still struggle with the stereotype of people thinking that because I'm in sales that I'm unethical or uneducated. And when I think about the fact that this originated 150 years ago, it allows me, and hopefully you too, to let go of that stereotype. It is not the case, and we're going to get into why, as a society, we don't even allow it. Like, people that are unethical are not going to survive in the world of sales. And then in 1924, IBM attempted to restore the salesperson's reputation by introducing competition. So this is where this whole model of we need to have people compete against each other. And then in 1925, The Psychology of Sales by Edward Strong and Dale Carnegie was born. Dale Carnegie famously wrote a lot of books. He wrote How to Win Friends and Influence People. Good content, but it's 100 years old. So maybe it's time to modernize our approach a little bit. And then we get into the 1950s, where a lot of what we're going to be talking about moving forward is really this paradigm and paradox between the 1950s door-to-door salespeople, where there's information asymmetry. And the term is buyer beware, because in the 1950s, we didn't have email, we didn't have internet. If somebody wanted to buy something, they had to seek a salesperson, and that salesperson held all of the information. There wasn't the buyer didn't have any information. And so the salesperson could get away with being maybe vague about details, maybe unethical about details, not being transparent. They weren't really necessarily interested in long-term relationships because it was just a short-term transactional exchange. But now, fast forward to current day, 2000 and present, we have the internet boom. Obviously, the internet boom completely changed our lives in so many ways, but it also changed the way buyers buy. Information is more accessible. People can find anything on the internet. So the role of the seller is changed, and it's actually even changed to seller beware. So the key takeaways that we have from this history is that negative stereotypes originated during a time when information asymmetry deeply favored the seller. That is not the case anymore. So we can start to dismantle these negative stereotypes and create new, more positive ones. Second, the modern sales is less about providing information, and it's more about curating information. So this webinar, for example, before I did it, I did a couple surveys to find out what you actually wanted to learn about. And now I'm doing my best to take information that's out there. I found this through my own experience and through books and articles, and I'm doing my best to curate an experience for you that you would find value in. And lastly, the sales landscape has been shifting in ways that favors women, connecting, shaping solutions, and collaborating. The greatest example that I have of this is the financial advising, if you're a financial advisor, financial investment industry. Whereas in the 1950s, if you were to go to a financial advisor, it was because your financial advisor had all of the information. You had money and you wanted to invest it. There was no information for you to do it yourself, and you were hiring somebody to do that for you. Now, the skill set that is needed to sell someone like that is very different than it is today. Today, people can find information they can invest on their own. They don't need a financial advisor to do it for them. So what are they still using the financial advisor for? What is the value that they are providing? And the two main things that they're providing is empathy. So they have the ability to be able to look at their situation and truly understand what they're going through, what their needs are, what their long-term goals are. And then second is effective communication. How can you effectively communicate what your recommendation would be, or how they can make this, do this strategy, this financial strategy, and be successful in it? So I thought that was an interesting example of how our industries, very traditional industries, have shaped over time and based off of information. So the question that I want to leave you with is, how will you use this information to empower your sales journey? So right now, I want you to just start to be thinking that maybe, so the mindset shift that I want you to start thinking is, maybe all of these things that I've heard about sales, that society is either implicitly or explicitly telling me about what sales looks like, maybe they're not true. Maybe there is a different way. So now we're going to get into exactly what it looks like from a traditional to trailblazing. And we're going to be answering the question, how are women uniquely positioned to excel in today's sales environment? And I absolutely love this quote from Sandra Day O'Connor. As women achieve power, the barriers will fall. As society sees what women can do, as women see what women can do, there will be more women out there doing things, and we'll all be better off for it. So I want you to really take that in and know that that is the truth, and that's what we are all working for. So let's get into some tangible. You might be like, I don't even know what this whole traditional model of sales looks like. Like, what is it? So when we think of traditional, we're thinking that 1950s door-to-door salesperson. And what that sales model looks like is, it's driven by fear, it's driven by competition, individual quotas, it's product focused. I've got one thing and I'm going to go to your house like the vacuum cleaner, the Encyclopedia Britannica. I'm going to go to your house and I'm going to drill into the ground until you buy this product. It's a linear process. So it's, you have your A, B, and C, and that's the process. And then if someone doesn't buy, you're cycling through the rebuttal process. A standardized pitch. So this is still very common. Like, what's your pitch? That has definitely changed. Seller push dynamic. Again, it's about you having the thing that you want somebody else to buy without taking the other person's opinion or needs into consideration. So the trailblazing approach, or the AKA more modern approach, is more about empowerment. So we're thinking about how we can empower ourselves. We're also thinking about how we can empower our clients. It's collaborative. So we're working together towards a common good. Team goals. Some of the most progressive and successful companies have team goals where everybody is part of it. You have a lot of check-ins where you're checking in on, hey, does somebody need something? How are we filling in gaps? I'm resonating with this type of buyer, but not this type of buyer. So then somebody else can help. I love the whole team's goal approach. They're solution oriented. So you're meeting with somebody and you're really learning about them and providing a solution for them. And that means that sometimes you can't offer them the solution. Maybe you're guiding them towards somebody else that can offer that to them. Flexible engagement. So you want to be flexible with your prospects and your clients. You don't have to, there's not just one thing that's going to happen. If they say no, maybe that means not right now. Maybe they want you to do something different and you get to decide if that's something that you want to do. And then personalized communication. We're going to get into this a little bit more, but being personalized is one of those things that because of the information asymmetry, or because there is equal information, because the buyer does have information, they are really looking for you to offer a personalized approach to your selling. And then buyer-centric facilitation. So it's really all about the buyer. And we're just going to continue this, and we're going to dig deeper into what types of behaviors also show up. So under traditional, you're going to sense a lot of pressure. So if somebody is trying to sell you something like a car or something like that, you're going to feel pressure. There's also going to be this feeling of indifference. So the person selling to you may not feel like they're really emotionally invested in you solving your problem. It's going to be very transactional, ambiguity. There's a lot of ambiguity. I cannot say that word, ambiguity. I can't say that word. We're just going to stick with ambiguity. Ambiguous. There we go. Ambiguous. And implicit. So this goes back to, not having the information. It was widely acceptable to just not be vague or to not tell people all the facts. And it's short-term focused. You're thinking about selling the person that's right in front of you. You don't really care if you have to lie to them because you never want to see them again anyway. So the trailblazing model is really built around these elements. It's about curiosity. It's about how can I truly get to know what's happening with my client, with my potential client? How am I showing empathy? How am I putting myself in their shoes? I'm nurturing them. So you're showing them that you care over a long period of time. You're clear and direct, which really goes back to our communication styles. And then we're really looking about long-term relationships. Like so many businesses, so many people are really seeing the return on investment of nurturing clients. And your current clients are where you're going to get your biggest ROI, or your previous clients are going to be where you're going to get your previous ROI. So in that trailblazing or modern approach, we're thinking about what do we need to do to have those long-term relationships. And just if you're like a visual person like me, this is an easy way to say, okay, traditional is that traditional Wolf of Wall Street, love Matthew McConaughey, but this doesn't feel so great, at least to me. I don't know if other people like this, but the name of the game is moving money from your client's pocket to your pocket. And then we've got the trailblazing or modern approach, which is Vanessa Van Edwards. She wrote the book Captivate, and super great book. I would highly recommend it. And her approach really talks about how it's all about I care about you. Now, you might be thinking, Amy, I'm not really buying this. As you can see, these traits here with the trailblazing, it's obvious that all of these traits come naturally to women, but it's just not possible that women could actually be better in sales than men. And I just want to share some stats with you. First, women have a 5% higher closing rate than men. 86% of women achieve their sales quota compared to just 78% of men. Female sales reps are 11% more likely to win deals, and gender diverse companies enjoy a whopping 15% boost in profits. So, the question that I want to leave you with is why not us? Why is it that women can't be better at sales? And when we think about this next mindset shift, is that if you entered into this workshop webinar, think, you know what, because I'm a woman, I am not as qualified as a man. And now I want you to start shifting and thinking, because I'm a woman, I'm actually more qualified to succeed in sales. So you might be thinking, Amy, that's all well and good, but just because I have all these skills, how do I know how to use them? And this is where we're going to get into some really exciting parts. So if you weren't super interested in like the history of sales and like what's happening, and I've lost you and you're not listening, this is the time to listen, because we're going to be sharing some really actionable tips. And we're going to start by answering the question, what if you could enjoy selling knowing it aligns perfectly with your personal and professional values? That is what the modern selling mindset, the modern selling approach is all about: enjoying selling and having it align with your values. But you can't get there without a plan. And so I love talking about motivational and let's go get them. But we also have to have a plan. And so a goal without a plan is just a wish. So we're going to be sharing the plan. And that plan entails the 3 C's of modern sales. Now, I have to tell you that the 3 C's of modern sales are the foundational elements of the Shatter Effect sales system. That's our one-on-one personalized coaching where we create personalized strategies for you. But these are the foundational elements. Now, we do a one-on-one in there. So this is going to be a high level, and I'm going to give you as many actionables that you possibly can take with you and start using today. But I do have to share with you a quick story about how I came up with these 3 C's. This is what I've been using for years. And the quick story is that this all came to be during the pandemic. So, I was working in insurance sales, and it was mostly men that was there. And it was like at the worst part, like everything was locked down. We were doing our sales. We would meet every Monday morning, and we would talk about like what we did last week and what we're going to do next we've got like 30 people on the Zoom call, like 28 of them are men and 2 of them are women. Not that it matters. Like, this isn't like we hate men and we love women, but I just want to give you a visual. And um, everyone on the call, when they would go through and talk about their activity, they would say, basically, everybody wants to meet with me. Oh, yeah, so and so wants to meet with me. Everyone wants to meet with me. And in my head, I was thinking, there is no effing way that these people want to meet with you. Nobody wants to meet with me. I don't even want to ask anybody to meet with me. They're dealing with, people and their families are sick. Their companies are dealing with financial strain. There's so many uncertainty in the world. Do you really want to meet with your insurance agent right now? I mean, no. Like, there was information that we had that was useful to them, but do you want to take time out of your day? So I was really caught in this like meltdown moment where I was like, oh my gosh, I was listening to all of these men talk about how great they were doing, which all of it was complete bullshit. I get off the phone with them and they're like, oh no, no one wants to meet with me. Um, but I went into my bedroom, I got in bed and I put the covers over my head and I was like, what the F am I gonna do? And I sat there for like 30 minutes, and what came to me was I had this idea of creating this whole vision board where I put up the 3 C's and I put a bunch of other stuff up there, which we do go through in the Shatter Effect system. Also, we're not going to do it today because that would take too long. But, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go and I'm going to make that vision board. So I headed out to the craft store and I bought my cork board and I put my Post-its up and I put everything up there. And within 3 months, I had hit my sales goal, and I already had half of my sales goal in before the pandemic hit. So that means that I almost doubled my sales revenue within 3 months, which is the most revenue I'd ever brought in a year. And that isn't the really amazing part. The amazing part was that those sales happened because people were calling me. They were calling me and saying, hey, you know what? We're not happy with our broker. We see you and we really appreciate you and we want to hire you. It was unheard of. And so I doubled down on these elements and package them, and I'm going to share them with you today. All right, so let's dive in. Okay, the first one is connect. So connect is, how am I adding prospects to my pipeline? Pipeline, your database, it can be your CRM, whatever it is, it's getting people into your sphere. And this is the first step. So if you're on this call and you're like, you know what, I don't have anybody in my database, I don't even know who my prospective clients are, start connecting with people. And the way that you connect with people is you pick 2 to 3 channels, and a channel is going to be either like LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, email, networking, referrals. Those are examples of channels. So you're going to pick 2, maybe 3, and you're going to create a strategy around those channels. How am I going to connect with people through these channels? So for me, it's maybe email. So I'm in LinkedIn. So I'm going to message people on LinkedIn and then potentially down the road, get them onto my email list. But the first action step is to connect. So if you're not connecting with people, I want to encourage you to start connecting with people. Schedule one-on-one meetings with people that resonate with you. And we'll kind of get into like what that looks like later on. But that's the first step. The next step is cultivate. Now, I love cultivate, and hopefully as a woman, we are natural givers because that's what cultivate is. And the question that we're answering is, how am I building trust and credibility and providing value? So the key to cultivate, and let me just stop and say, what I mean by cultivate is you've connected with that person and now you want to cultivate a relationship with them. And how do you do that? You're going to give to them. You're going to see how you can provide value to them. Because one of the biggest misnomers is that people think that you have to connect with somebody and then you have to close them. And there's this magical in between area that's called cultivate. And as a woman, we get to really own this because we are master givers. There's boundaries around that, which, for a different day, different discussion, but just know that cultivate is a very important part of your process. And the keys to doing it is, let me just stop and say some of the examples would be like sending them a podcast, sending them an article, something that they're like, oh, they talked about this and I know they're going to find value in it. Also, a great way to cultivate a relationship is to send them referrals. So you might connect with somebody and you're learning about them, but you're not really in a position to like close them on a sale, but you want to start building trust and credibility, providing value. So if you come across somebody that could find value in their service, send them an introduction. That's a great way to cultivate. But the key to cultivating effectively, and this is really important, are the 3 Ps. You want to make it personal. So you want to give them something that is personal to them. And this goes back to that need for the modern buyer to have a personalized approach. So this isn't a mass marketing email that you send out to 1,000 people. This is personal. How do you say, you said this was important to you, and now I'm going to give this to you individually. The second thing is purposeful. So it has to be something that they said, oh my gosh, I think that this is something that I would need. And in order to know that, you have to be asking people questions to know. But that's part of it. And then the last part is so important, and that is pure. It has to be pure, which means it's unconditional giving. You're not sending them a an email that says, "Oh, here's all this information, and by the way, buy my course." On top of that, it's about, not that doing that is bad, but if your intention is to cultivate, it is to give unconditionally. And one of the actually, I'm going to share that story for later. I forgot. Okay, so we're going to move on to convert. Another word for convert is close. I don't really like that word. I've used it in the past, and convert feels really good for me. And the answer that we're answering is, how am I helping my prospects find the solution that best fits their needs? So this really goes back to what the modern buyer is looking for. They're not looking for a product, they're looking for a solution. And it's your job to try to help them find that solution. We're going to be diving in deeper onto convert and the different steps that are involved in convert, because it's not just about connecting and closing. There's actually some milestones that you'll want to be hitting when you think about convert. But those are the basic 3 steps of the modern sales process. So you should know that whenever you have a prospect, they're going to fall into one of these buckets. So a common thing that I hear from people, women, is that I don't know what to do. I don't know what action to take. I don't know what to do next. And it's also, I don't want to be annoying. So taking those 2 things and these 3 steps, you should know exactly, okay, I need to connect with people. How am I going to connect with people? I want to cultivate. This is a person that I want to cultivate. What am I going to be sending them? And if I'm going to be converting them, what questions am I asking? How am I helping them move to that next level to find their best solution? All right. So the question that we're leaving you with is, how do you use your natural gifts to help your ideal clients find and select you? Now you might be wondering, I don't know how to do that. No worries, because we're actually going to be getting into that next. And we're going to be talking about high vibe sales techniques. And the question that we're answering is my favorite question, which is, what would your sales approach look like if it were filled with more joy? Now, as you could have seen from my journey, I've worked in a lot of what potentially could be toxic work environments. And I always held on to infusing joy into my process, whether it's with my coworkers or it's with my clients. How can I help their day be a little bit brighter? How can I help bring joy to them? Now, and we're going to start with a quote from Maya Angelou. So this is a very famous quote, but this is really the basis of what we're talking about. And she says, I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And this is just such a foundational piece of sales. Is it's important to know how you make someone feel. So this is why we talk about this low vibe versus high vibe. High vibe. Now you may not know what this means. You may not have heard this term before. So we put in here some words that describe low vibe and high vibe. Now, in short, it's like you meet someone and it just doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. High vibe person, you can hang out with them all day long. I know a high vibe person, when I meet them, I'm like, I want to be your best friend because you're so much fun and just lovely to hang out with. I'm going to buy from somebody that I feel good about being around versus somebody that I don't feel good around. If they're the only one that offers it, I might buy it, but I might just not buy it at all because they don't make me feel good. So this is an illustration of low vibe and high vibe. So next, what we're going to do is something super fun, and we're actually going to take low vibe, high vibe, and we're going to funnel them through the 3 C's of modern selling. So the first thing that I want to say is these low vibe tactics. If you do any of them currently, then I just want to say a huge disclaimer is that there's nothing wrong with that. You are not a bad person. Now, if you're doing them, they're getting results, and you feel good doing them, keep doing them. There's nothing wrong with that. This is for people that are like, you know what? I feel like this is the thing I have to do. This is the only way I've been told to do it. And I want to introduce you to a different way that potentially is going to feel good and be more effective. So let's get into it. So the first one is asking for referrals. So asking for referrals is a great way to connect with people. Okay. So a lower vibe way to do it is prior to the meeting. If you sending out a message to the person that you're going to be meeting with, if you don't mind, when we meet for coffee next week, can you bring a list of people you think I should connect with? So nothing wrong with that, but I know that doesn't really feel great for me to say. It also doesn't feel good when somebody does that to me, and I don't know exactly the rhyme or reason. It just doesn't feel good. So to me, that's low vibe. Now, a higher vibe way to do this is during a meeting. So you're in that coffee and you say to them, you're usually like, if you're there networking, then usually there's a point when someone says, hey, how can I help you? You can say that first. They're going to ask you back. And when they ask you back, how you can ask for referrals is, I most enjoy working with people who want to increase revenue, value, transparency. If you run across anyone like that, an introduction would mean the world to me. So what this does is it says, I want to give you exactly the type of person that I'm looking for and telling them exactly what would be helpful, like an introduction. Like, and for you, it might look different. Obviously, you're going to say like whoever it is that you're working with, but you're going to be able to arm that person with actual information so that they can go out and find people that are actually a good fit for you. And then having it be an actual introduction. Like send an email and connect us, and then we'll take it from there. So giving the person that's asking for referrals a little bit more guidance around what you mean for asking for referrals. You're going to get, this approach is so much more effective. I can definitely tell you that, because you're actually connecting with people who are already kind of into that next sphere, that next like closest to your like becoming a client because of the way that the referral is done. Okay, the next one is networking. So this is a lower vibe to as many people as possible. You say to them, I'd love to connect. Here's my cards. So you go to a networking, you're like, oh my God, I got to collect 10 cards and I'm just going to attack people and ask them for their card. A higher vibe way of doing that is to 2 to 3 people that you resonate with. So you go to a networking event and you meet people that you're like, I genuinely enjoy talking to you. They may or may not be a potential client, but something about the conversation really resonates with you. And then saying to them, I'd love to connect. Would you be open to chatting more over coffee? And really just setting the stage for a one-on-one discussion, because the reality is that the people that you're resonating with, those are people that even if they're not clients, they're going to get you closer to your highest quality clients. Okay, so that was networking. And then cold calling. Everyone freaking hates cold calling. I understand. I've done it a lot. I don't love it, but I do believe in it. And this is a whole series of how to make a cold call. This is just the entry point. Um, Cold calling, a script on how you ask for the person. Hi, is Sarah there? Most people, when they cold call, this is what they say. I've heard so many people say it this way. A higher vibe way to do it, we're going to inject some transparency, some curiosity, and some collaboration into this approach. And this is, hi, this is Amy from Shatter Sales. I was looking for the person that oversees sales for your company. So you're telling them exactly who you are, where you're calling from, and what you're looking for. And if you already have a name, you could say, would that be Sarah? If they say great, then you're like, is she by chance available? So this is just a couple of the paradigms shift from low vibe to high vibe with sales. Lots of other scenarios. I'd be happy to talk through any other scenarios that you might have that you may not be feeling great about, and see how we can turn those into something that feels better for you. Okay, so the next one is cultivate. Okay, so remember, cultivate is unconditional giving. This is you just filling your prospect and your clients with love. And so the different scenarios that we picked here were discovery calls. So your discovery calls would be like your intro calls, like the first time you're getting introduced to your clients. And a low vibe way of having a discovery call is that your client or prospective client speaks 20% of the time and the seller speaks 80% of the time. The higher vibe way is the reverse. Your client should be speaking 80% of the time And you should be speaking 20% of the time, really just asking questions, being curious, digging deeper into what's happening with them. You really want to understand what's happening with them so that you know if you offer a solution that they need. The next type of cultivating is value adds. So we talked about how sending like podcasts and podcast articles, like different things, that informational piece, educational pieces, videos to your prospects, sending them is a great way to cultivate. So a lower vibe way to do this is to send, the seller would send a podcast that they were featured in and ask products to subscribe, write a review. Now, if you're doing this, again, this is nothing wrong with it, but we really want to do things that aren't then, when we're in this cultivate phase, it's really about just unconditionally giving. So a higher vibe way to do that is the seller sends a podcast that discusses a topic that the prospect expressed interest in learning more about. Period. If you want to, if it's, you could say, you could record a podcast about the potential client could say, this is a topic that I want to learn more about. And then you could actually create a podcast or a video on that topic and say, hey, I thought of you. I created this content. I wanted to share it with you. So more of a higher vibe way to do it, making it more about them and making it personal and purposeful. And then last but not least is thank you. Now, who knew that there would be a bad way to say thank you? And again, there's no good or bad way in any of these. There's just different ways. So the first way, lower vibe ways, is the seller sends a thank you email and asks for a second meeting. That seems like something that you would do. Now, the thing that the story that I wanted to share with this, which was I think super insightful, was I volunteer at the Women's Fund, and part of my volunteer responsibilities is that I send thank yous to people that donate money, attend events, and just show gratitude to them for being part of the community. And the executive director, like when I first was onboarding with them, she had a conversation with me about like how to say thank you. And I was like, I'm in sales. I know how to say thank you. And she said, it's really important when you thank them that you don't ask for more money. And she's like, it's going to be tempting because these are the people that are donating to us. But when we say thank you, we just want this thank you to be filled with joy. And the minute that you ask for money, it diminishes the thank you. So sending a thank you and then asking for a second meeting at the same time, it diminishes the authenticness of the thank you. So a more high vibe way to do it is a seller sends thank you. Seller sends thank you. I love handwritten notes if you can, and provide personal insights into what you most enjoyed during their meeting. It could be business related, it could be not businesses related, but have it just be an altruistic, unconditional thank you. You're not looking for something in return. So cultivate. These are the examples. Lots more. We could be here all day going through them, but these are kind of the main ones. And then last, close. And I have the word close here, but I should really have the word convert. This is an old slide. So imagine that says convert. So convert. There are three main ways that you are converting. You are converting from a non-lead to a lead. So a non-lead to a lead, these are just random people, and now you're getting them into like your email list, LinkedIn connection. The second is from a lead to a qualified lead, and then from a qualified lead to a client. So if you're wondering where your prospects fall, then those are the three categories of when you're converting. You're converting them from a non-lead to a lead, from a lead to a qualified lead, and to a qualified lead to a client. So let's talk through how each of these go, how each of these converting goes through each of these lenses. Okay, so non-lead to lead. Seller shotguns 100 messages on LinkedIn asking for a connection and then promptly sends sales message asking them to subscribe to the newsletter. So nothing wrong with sending out 100 messages on LinkedIn. And again, nothing wrong with wanting to do this, but we've all had this happen to us. We accept a connection and they instantly ask for something. And how gross does that make you feel? If it makes you feel gross, that means that you don't have to do it either. Now, a more high vibe way to do it is a seller strategically targets 20 contacts on LinkedIn and sends a short message requesting a connection. Short message, I always like, hey, I would love to connect and network with you. It doesn't have to be complicated. If you want to make it more personalized, you can, but I would say simple is better. And then you follow up with a give versus an ask. So I really like to invite people if there is like after they've connected, I'll send them a message and be like, thanks for connecting. If there's anybody in my network that you want me to connect you to, just let me know. So not asking for something and giving something. So then the next phase is a lead to a qualified lead. So here they're in your sphere. So they're maybe on LinkedIn or they're on your email list. And you want to see if you can move them to a qualified lead, qualified prospect. So the low vibe approach would be the seller sends 5+ emails to the same person over 2 weeks immediately after connecting, asking to meet with no response from the prospect. So everybody's had this happen to you. You connect with somebody and they start emailing you, hey, I want to meet with you. I want to meet with you. I want to meet with you. Like 5 times. You don't ever respond. And then they're like, oh, this is your last chance if you want to connect with me. I'm like, no way, I'm not interested. That's a really low vibe way to do it. A more high vibe way to do it is invite the seller. The seller invites the prospect to join a webinar, email list, membership, one-on-one meeting, and provides a clear what's in it for them. And I should specify that this comes not immediately after connecting. This is maybe a month after connecting, maybe longer. You've had an opportunity to do some cultivating in between connecting. And then you say, hey, I'd love to see, like if you want to meet one-on-one, or I have this email newsletter that I send out monthly. It has all this information in it. And if you're interested, like go ahead and here's the link to sign up. So that's a higher vibe way to move from a lead to a qualified lead. And then lastly, but not least, we've got a qualified lead to a client. So this is you're in your discovery call, you're meeting with your client, and they're checking off all the boxes. They're emotionally ready to buy, they're financially ready to buy. You've got the solution, or you believe you have the solution. Like it's like blood in the water, you're gonna pounce on them. And the low vibe way is it pushes the client towards the option that best suits the seller. So you're pushing them towards your most expensive product, even if you know that it's not the right product for them. That is going to fail because of information overload. People have so much information, they might get caught up in the moment and they might say yes, but they're probably going to later regret it. So more of a low vibe way to do it. Versus a high vibe way is you get to the end of that call, so they're qualified, you've asked all the right questions, is the seller asks the prospect how they would like to proceed. So you're asking them, we just covered a lot, like, how are you feeling? How would you like to proceed? And a lot of times I'll say, well, I would love to work forward with you, but I don't know what to do. Like, what's the best step forward? And then you can prompt them. You can make one recommendation. You can offer 2 to 3 options, but this is about finding the best solution. This is collaborative. This is using curiosity. This is using all of those skills that come naturally to us. So that's what we have. Those are the 3 C's and the high vibe techniques. And the question that I'm leaving you with is, what vibe are you putting out into the world? Because we all know that the vibe that you put out is the vibe that you're going to get back. So we're going to end with the most important part, which is not necessarily the most important part, but the momentum through mindset. And we're going to be answering the question, how are your thoughts and feelings driving your sales results? So think about that. Think about what you think about sales, what you think about interrupting people, bothering people, maybe making cold calls, maybe sending too many emails, whatever it is. Like, how are you feeling about that, and how is it driving your sales results? And the quote that we have is unknown. I don't know who wrote this, but what we're going to talk about is, don't downgrade your dreams to match your reality. We're going to upgrade your belief to match your vision. And we're going to start off with the 3 we're going to start off with the thrive with 3 P's. And so this is the mindset that if you are struggling, if you're like, hey, I launched this course and nobody enrolled. I scheduled this webinar and nobody showed up. I sent out 100 emails and nobody responded. I made 100 phone calls and nobody responded. I didn't get anywhere. These are the 3 questions that I want you to ask yourself to start shifting your mindset. The first one is it permanent? Is the situation permanent? So if it's a matter of, I made 100 phone calls and nobody responded, asking yourself, is this permanent? Does that mean that no one is ever going to return your call? The answer is no. The next is this situation, is it pervasive? So is this situation happening to everyone? And so if anyone has ever made a cold call, has somebody never responded? And the answer is no. And then the last question is this situation personal? So did this person not respond to my call because they personally hate me? The answer is no. And the other phrase that I really love to use is what if. So if you're like, oh, I'm just not there with the no, asking the question knowing it's a no, maybe say what if. What if the situation isn't permanent? What if this situation isn't happening to everyone? And what if the situation isn't personal? So go back. If you're ever feeling the weight of rejection, go back to these three questions to shift your mindset from scarcity into abundance. Okay, this is super fun part. This is the last major chunk of the content. So if you've fallen asleep, hopefully you have not, but if you haven't, I want you to come back. I want you to hear these new mindsets so you can start using them today. Okay, we're filtering them through the lens of the connect, cultivate, and convert. We're going to talk about first the outdated mindset of connect. So, has anybody ever said this to themselves when they're thinking about, I need to connect with somebody, I need to go up to, I'm at a networking event and I need to go up and talk with somebody? Have you ever thought, I don't want to bother anyone? I don't want to I've definitely thought that. It's rude to interrupt somebody's day. Or what if they hang up on me? I think at least I definitely have had all of those mindsets that have come throughout me throughout the years. But a more modern approach to that is to remember that you provide something of value. Just remember, you provide something of value to people. So you are not bothering them, you are providing value. The second mindset that I love is that it would actually be selfish to let your insecurities keep you from finding the people that your service can help. It would be selfish to let your insecurity of being rude about interrupting someone's day from finding people that need your service. And then the last question is, what if they need you? Like, what if they need you and you're like, I couldn't be bothered to make that connection today. I couldn't be bothered by spending the time making those connections. So connect, that was the first one. The next is cultivate. So an outdated mindset around cultivate, and I love this one, giving my time and information for free is a waste of time and for losers who are too afraid to ask for a sale. Oh my gosh, this is like disgusting and I hate it. Absolutely not true. But a lot of people think that. They think as women, they're like, oh, you're wasting your time by giving all this value. Nothing could be further from the truth. I definitely encountered that where people in my organization didn't think that me providing as much value as I did would pay off. And they were absolutely wrong. I would tell you that. I only give if I'm expecting something in return. This is such an outdated mindset that hopefully nobody is thinking that. But if you are, you want to shift that mindset. So a more modern mindset would be unconditionally giving something personal and purposeful helps me make the impact I yearn to make in the world. So this is a new mindset that you can install. The second one is when I make those around me feel supported, it comes back to me in exciting and unpredictable ways. I really want you to think about these mindsets around cultivate and really lean into what it means to give unconditionally because it's such a valuable part of the process. Okay, then last, convert. So the outdated mindset is I'm the expert and I know what's best for my client. Not really true. Like you're there to curate the solution, but it's ultimately in this day and age with the amount of information that's out there, it is ultimately your clients or your prospective clients' role to know what is best for them. Ask until you get a yes, no matter what. This is absolutely not true. And this is all comes back to like overcoming rebuttals. Like you got to get to a yes. Like I just don't believe in any of that. I think you honor the yes and you can move past it and you can find other solutions, but you do have to honor and embrace. You have to honor the no that they're telling you. And then maybe there's an opportunity to pivot to something different, but you do want to acknowledge the no. I need this one to buy because I'm not sure when I'll find another one. Now, I think this is so common. I definitely have felt this throughout time, but this is an outdated mindset. This will weigh you down and it will keep you from reaching your full potential. And a more modern mindset to convert is My job is to guide the client by listening and asking quality questions to the solution that best fits their needs. If they are not ready to buy now, that's okay. I'm here for them whenever they need me. And the last one is there are prospective clients everywhere. So these are the mindsets that we want to install. You can come back to this if you're having a bad day and you're thinking, I need to connect, I need to cultivate, I need to convert, but I'm feeling like my limiting mindset is popping up. We want you to think about those and be curious. Again, you can start it with, what if I provide something of value? That feels really good. So the question that I want to leave you with, and our time together is about to come to an end, which I'm sad about. I hope this was valuable for you. But the question that I want to leave you with is that what's one mindset shift that you can make today? So what's one mindset shift that you can make today? And I also want to add on is, what is one action step that you can take today? And really circling this back to what we started with, which was building confidence. So we talked about how men and women take actions differently. So after looking at these are what actions look like in a modern sales arena, this is what the modern buyer wants. What are some action steps that now you want to take in order to build that confidence muscle a little bit more? So I want to leave you with a quote from Oprah Winfrey. Everybody loves Oprah. And this is really, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Um, this really epitomizes to me what I think selling is. So when we talked about all of the traditional types of selling, around fear and competition and pushing people towards a solution, I don't believe any of that. I've never done that in my sales, and I will never do it. And this description from Oprah really resonated with me about what sales means to me, which is I've come to believe that each of us has a personal calling that's as unique as a fingerprint. And the best way to succeed is to discover what you love and then find a way to offer it to others in the form of service, working hard and allowing the energy of the universe to lead you. So I just want you to sit with that and think about how that resonates with you. I want to say thank you. Thank you so much for being here. I would love to hear your feedback. I'm going to be sending an email out tomorrow with the recording. If you have more questions or your feedback is super instrumental, a lot of this content that we carried today was around the Shatter Effect sales system, and which is our one-on-one personalized coaching. So I'd love your feedback to help us make that even better. And then the Shatter Lounge, which is our monthly membership that is for women that show up that want to shatter all of their sales goals. You can scan this to learn more, set up a one-on-one consultation with me. Both of these products are actually on a wait list right now, so I couldn't even sell them to you now if I wanted to, but I would love to invite you to join the wait list if you're feeling called to learn more about this approach. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for being here. If you have questions, please let me know, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Have a great day. Bye.